Guarded by Wanamaker with 10 seconds to go.
UConn wins that, and we are underway in their quest for 89 in a row.
With a chance to make history.
You gotta believe, because just when people say you can't, you can. And UConn has won the national championship.
The national championship goes to Connecticut for the 4th year in a row as the dynasty fulfills its destiny.
The Huskies once again are in basketball heaven.
Thanks for tuning in to Drop 2 of the 22 Threads podcast. I'm your host, Mediocre Dan, and this is Cardiac Kemba. Kemba Walker was born and raised in the Bronx, New York. He played his high school ball at Rice High School and his AAU ball for the New York Gauchos. Growing up in the Northeast and with Connecticut's basketball success during his childhood, UConn was Walker's dream school. But as he entered his junior year of high school, he was still flying under the radar as the 119th recruit in his class, and well behind UConn's top point guard target and the #1 recruit in the country, Brandon Jennings, who appeared to be a lock to commit to the Huskies. In Kemba Walker fashion, he took that chip on his shoulder and ran with it. During the 2007 Arizona Cactus Classic, an elite AAU tournament featuring the best programs from around the country, Kemba shined and led his team to the title. When Jennings shocked UConn the day after the tournament by committing to Arizona out of the blue, he had reportedly given Calhoun a verbal commitment on his visit to Storrs. UConn had to scramble for a backup plan. That afternoon, Calhoun hopped in his car with assistant coach Andre LaFleur, drove to New York City to offer Kemba Walker a scholarship, and the rest, as they say, was history. Fast forward a year and Kemba Walker arrived in Storrs. As a freshman, he was the backup to point guard AJ Price on a loaded UConn squad that came into the season ranked number 2 in the country. During his first season, Kemba averaged 8.9 points per game in just over 25 minutes. In the 2009 NCAA tournament, Kemba scored 23 points in the Elite Eight against Missouri in an 82-75 victory that helped lead the Huskies to their 3rd Final Four in program history. During his second season in Storrs, Kemba took a leap forward as a starting point guard for the team. During the season, he averaged 14.6 points per game and 5.1 assists. But his sophomore campaign didn't go as swimmingly as his freshman year, as UConn failed to make the NCAA tournament and lost a second-round matchup in the NIT at Virginia Tech. The Huskies season during Kemba's junior year was not expected to be much better than the NIT-bound team from a year before. UConn lost stars Stanley Robinson and Jerome Dyson and was bringing in a 7-player freshman class. Kemba was one of only 3 upperclassmen on the roster. But Kemba Walker is a special dude, and just like how he put the New York City Gauchos on his back at the 2007 Arizona Cactus Classic, he would put the 2010-11 Huskies squad squarely on his shoulders. Early in the 2010-11 season, in the Maui Invitational, Kemba Walker gave the college basketball world their first taste of Cardiac Kemba. First against Wichita State, in the opening round game of the tournament, Kemba hit a bucket with 40 seconds to play to help secure UConn an opening round win.
What is the last minute hold in game number 1 of the Maui Invitational? Jim Calhoun, you like it when 15 has the ball, I'll tell you that much. 29 points in 22 minutes. Wow. Make it 31. Welcome to Maui, Kemba. Welcome to Maui.
Then the next day against Michigan State, the number 2 team in the country, Kemba delivered again, hitting a basket with 58 seconds left that gave UConn the lead.
The ball. 1 minute to go. Walker, does he have it left in the tank? Another tough shot. He made it. Woo.
Wow, reaching back into his tricks.
30 again for Walker.
After running the table in Maui, the unranked Huskies vaulted all the way to 9th in the AP poll. And as the season continued, Cardiac Kemba would deliver more big-time shots, including a half-court buzzer beater as the shot clock expired, late in the second half of UConn's game at 12th-ranked Texas.
Give me some help, Corey says. Give me some help. Did a great job there.
Lost the dribble, tapped away. Fired it up as the shot clock was expired. They called it a three-pointer. He nailed it. How
Are you serious?
that?
He's smiling. Look at that smile.
More Kemba magic came when he hit the game winner in in a nationally televised game versus 7th-ranked Villanova on MLK Day.
8 seconds to go. They give it to Walker. Splits the defense. Throws up a floater with 2.5 to go.
Stepping up big time. I didn't put a little guy.
But despite the early season success by Kemba's young Husky team, they struggled down the stretch, finishing the Big East slate with a 9-9 record, and as the 9th seed in the Big East tournament. After UConn rolled through DePaul in their opening round win of the Big East tournament, and then Georgetown the next day in their second round matchup, UConn was set to face 4th-ranked Pittsburgh and the number 1 seed in the tournament. In the quarterfinal matchup, Pittsburgh threw the first punches and jumped out to a double-digit lead less than 10 minutes into the game, thanks to hot shooting and a 9-for-11 start from the floor. And playing in his 3rd game in as many days, Kemba Walker got off to a slow start on offense. But the cast of freshmen around Kemba helped keep UConn in the game. With 5:30 to go in the first half, freshman Shabazz Napier hit a 3-pointer that kicked off a 19-6 run to close out the half.
5.5 to go here in the first. Napier will take the 3 and hit it.
The best part about that young man, besides his basketball skill, is his confident demeanor.
Towards the tail end of the run, a Kemba Walker steal and score cut the lead to 2, and a fast break by Napier with 40 seconds left in the half tied the game at 39. Behind 13 points from Kemba, UConn would go into the locker room down only 1, 40-41. But early in the second half, the Panthers jumped out to a 7-point lead. They kept the game around that margin until an and one by another UConn freshman, Jeremy Lamb, closed the lead to 4 points, 50-54.
Well, you said something early in the broadcast, Storrs. Pittsburgh is consistent. Everything they do, every practice, every drill, building habits, defensively, offensively, consistency of effort.
Lamb inside, count it, and a foul on Pittsburgh.
Using their length on the perimeter and transition offense, UConn would go on a 14-6 run that would help them take their first lead of the second half, 61-60, with 8:30 left to play after a layup by Alex Oriaki.
Connecticut's only lead was late in the first half before Woodall hit a shot at the end. Alley-oop, Oriaki. Missed once, but not twice. UConn back on top.
First possession is zone. UConn recognized it. They threw it over the top. This is a young team growing up before your eyes.
UConn and Pitt traded buckets over the final 8 minutes, including a floater by Kemba Walker, his 20th points of the day, to give UConn the lead, 67-65, with just over 5 minutes left.
Walker going right back at Wanamaker. Kemba Walker gets the bounce. Connecticut by 2.
Well, it's a street fight. It's been that way for 35 minutes.
With under a minute to play, after a 3-pointer by Pittsburgh's Ashton Gibbs tied the game at 74, UConn would have at least one more shot to retake the lead. After a missed shot by Kemba Walker, Jamal Coombs-McDaniel secured an offensive rebound with 18 seconds left and smartly called a timeout, a heads-up play that would ensure UConn got the final shot of regulation. From there, I think every Husky fan knows what happens next. Here's Dave Pasch, Fran Francilla, and Doris Burke on the call.
Kemba Walker in the second half, only 4 of 14 shooting. He's 7 of 21 for the game, 22 points. And Walker inbound the ball, and now he gets it back. Guarded by Wanamaker with 10 seconds to go. Coombs-McDaniel on the screen. Walker with 7.
Got a mismatch.
Walker on McGee with 4. Kemba Walker, step back. Walker, Cardiac Kemba does it again. UConn wins at the buzzer.
The legend of Cardiac Kemba was born. Here's what the New York City native had to say about hitting the game-winning shot at the world's most famous arena.
I want to ask Kemba right now. Kemba, you're a New York guy. How many times have you hit that shot in your childhood growing up in this area and now getting a chance to do it on the big stage?
Growing up, I wasn't really much of a big scorer. I was really a defensive player, but, I'm one of the more experienced guys in this team, and everybody in the world know that I'm going to take that shot, and my teammates count on me, and I just wanted to make the big shot for my team.
We were talking to your mother earlier. She told us you used to be a hip-hop dancer. You've performed on one of the other big stages here in New York, up in Harlem, the Apollo Theater. How does this match up an opportunity to win a game for your ball club here at Madison Square Garden?
Man, this is probably the biggest thing ever. Big East tournament, one of the best leagues in the country, and to hit a game winner, against one of the best teams in our league it's a special moment.
UConn would go on to win their next 2 games at Madison Square Garden, defeating Syracuse in the semifinals 76-71 in overtime, and Louisville in the finals 69-66, capturing their 7th Big East Tournament Championship title. Led by Cardiac Kemba's Big East Tournament record, 130 points, the Huskies reeled off 5 straight wins in 5 straight days, including 4 wins in a row versus ranked opponents. All are records that still stand today. From there, Kemba would go on to lead UConn to their 4th Final Four and 3rd national championship in program history, and became the first UConn men's player to appear in 2 Final Fours in his career. After an All-American season, Kemba Walker graduated from UConn and entered the NBA draft, where he was selected 9th overall by the Charlotte franchise. To this day, Kemba remains the all-time leading scorer for the Charlotte Hornets with 12,009 points. Thanks for tuning in. You can catch Drop 3 next week, same time, same place. Until then, let's go Huskies.